The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, the Sunday Blether. Sadly, we're missing the main man himself, Regan Stevenson. We got a very rock and roll notice period from Regan of about 5 minutes that he wasn't doing the show. No rhyme, no reason. He just decided that I can't do the day, mate. And that was it. Regan never changed, but luckily, or unluckily in many cases, you've got me stepping in, attempted to host about my 40th show of the week. Phil McGinley, Super Phil, put his cape on. He jumped in the phone box, got changed, and came straight out. He's wearing a belter of a Real Betis top. And as always, on the Sunday Blether, you can always rely on Mark Kearney, Judge Kearney, if you will, to join us as well. Mark, straight to you, big man. It's your show, really. How the fuck are you, mate? You doing good?
I'm doing very good, mate. Missing the football this weekend. A wee bit of a void in my life, to be quite honest with you. Especially since it was supposed to be a Saturday 3 p.m. kick-off, which we don't get very often, let's be honest. But anyway, mate, we'll crack on, get a wee bit of Celtic fix for any Celtic fans that are missing us this weekend.
I think you're spot on. I mean, I did a show impromptu last night. Wee bit of fun, wee bit of banter. But genuinely, it was like, do you know what it felt like to me, though? It was like, it's not even just so much the physical game itself. It's every single where you turn, or whether it be TV, radio, Phil. It's like, it's almost verging on very 1984-esque now, where it's like, I don't know if you've seen the image Phil 42nd names posted, right? And it was the London Underground. The London Underground. And we're going to talk about Phil 40 names because Mark Kearney and me have had some serious debates about what's happening on the other side of the city that all seem to be coming to fruition and is now actually being documented by Phil 40 names.
Interesting enough, we mentioned him on Friday night on Nostalgia because we talked about 2012, weren't we? So
we were. Do you guys see how good Phil is these days? He's just got a plug-in for Nostalgia in 4 minutes 43 seconds. That is top drawer, mate.
Sound the Nostalgia klaxon, everybody.
That is good, mate. That is good. But Phil, what I was saying was, everywhere you turn, if you're turning the TV, the radio, you can't help but just be consumed by this death that's happened. And I know it's shite patter and all that, what's happened for a lot of people. But fucking hell, it's like it's a bit much. I mean, Phil 40 names put up a photo of the London Underground. And you know, it was always photo frames for like the theatre and things like that, advertising. Every single one of those frames has been changed to a silhouette image of the Queen and like RIP. And it's like, I don't know if you know the book 1984. I studied it.
Yeah,
believe
George
it or not.
Orwell, was it?
George Orwell, and Phil McGilvin, he posted last night Orwellian-esque, and I thought that's very good. I studied the 1984 book for, I think it was for my higher English, and that was like the written part. It's only aspect I fucking passed right enough, but it was your book consumed me. I genuinely could tell you right now, I've got the fear of going back and reading that for how many boxes would be ticked. It actually terrifies me. I don't know if you have ever had the chance to read it. I could not recommend it more. It is genius, and I think at this moment in time, eerily accurate as to what predictions George Orwell made.
How here in the Western world, Bhoycie, we sort of laugh a wee bit at North Korea, for instance, and the sort of cult of personality there, and the way the people are brainwashed. Like a few years back when Kim Jong-il passed away, and you see all the images of the people cry streets. Just look around you right now at what's going on, then go and compare footage 50 years ago. It's not a million miles off. Let's be honest, it's not a million miles away.
It's weird. So my point, I mean, is basically we went on last night. I appreciate what Mark's saying about missing the kickoff at 3 p.m, but just a bit of light relief as well. Do you know what I mean? Just go again, your schedule and whatever it is you're doing. I'll just dive on and have a bit of crack. I mean, there was nothing particularly, insightful opinion I was given last night. I wouldn't say. It was just really a bit of banter. Hopefully, the Celtic debate will ratchet up a few notches with two of my top team members joining me this afternoon. Anyway, before we get stuck into that, please remember to hit the subscribe button and join the other 2,784 subscribers that we've currently got. If you want to be a member, you can become member number 50 this week, because that is what we're pushing right now up to with that. The road to 3,000 subscribers are very much on, and I mean it's a month where we're going to smash all records in both YouTube and audio download figures as well. I think we're only 200 audio downloads short of breaking last month, which was the Bhoycie Burst record of like 1,300 audio downloads, and on YouTube views we're sitting way over 28,000 now, which is more than we got in the whole of August and more than we get most months. So big thank you to everyone supporting the channel in whatever way you're doing it. Mark Kearney, no football as you say, but the Celtic and the bus has to roll on, mate. Do you think this momentum breaker, if you want to call it that, it suits one team? We can we can talk about that at length, but from a Celtic perspective, first and foremost, does it actually impact us all that much? Do you think that the psyche of these players can be deterred all that much by the fact that there's been a break in the scheduling, or do you think it might suit us having the fixture missing going into the Champions League?
Well, actually, because if you look at the Dundee United game, I touched on this. The intensity for that match was for 90 minutes because the fans were wanting 10 goals. I think the players were wanting to break records. So this wasn't a 4-0 at half time and Celtic just took their foot off the gas and left it as it was. This was a team that was fighting to the very last kick of the ball, hurrying and harrying every corner, throw-in, free kick. Real Madrid and Rangers games, they take care of themselves. They're 100 miles an hour from start to finish. So the bodies is willing, but it's there, the energy's there so that for the players, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure if you asked the players whether they wanted a game, they'd go ahead on Saturday. I think they've all stood up and said, yeah, let's get Celtic playing, let's get this game ticked off. But it's probably came at a good time as well, Bhoycie, because it's a wee bit of relief for the players, because I touched on it the other day there as well. The amount of games we've played, they've all been of an intense nature. We've been in some hard places, hard away fixtures, plastic pitches, played Rangers, Hearts, Aberdeen. And then this just gives us a wee couple of days extra to relax. Now, no doubt in my mind, Rangers would have been pushing for that game to be cancelled. Not because of this pretense they've all got about the monarchy and how staunch they are and all the rest of it. That was the motivation behind that game being cancelled for their end was, it wasn't for respect, it was to give them more time to regroup, because I've got no doubt in my mind they'll have dropped points on Saturday against Aberdeen. I think that was, sometimes football just reads like a book sometimes, and I think that's what was going to happen.
Yes.
And Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I said this a few weeks ago, and it's been coined by a lot of people, so I'm going to say I was the first to say it, but I think COVID saved Gerrard, and I think the Queen's death might have just gave Van Bronckhorst a wee bit more breathing time. I certainly think Napoli on Tuesday isn't one that they would choose to pick up from, but I think it's given them a wee bit of breathing space. I think Celtic have got a lot of positives. We saw the introduction of Haksabanovic the other day there. He's been given another 3-4 days of training time with Ange.
Yep.
So roll on Wednesday, a very difficult game, but I think the break may have come at a good time, possibly for Celtic as well as Rangers, but for Celtic for different reasons.
Yes, I think you've summed it up really well there, Matt, because I agree. Actually, as much as us as fans are going to be always chucking our toys at the pram at fixture cancellations when our team's on a roll, you can kind of understand from the other side of the city's perspective why they're feeling a wee bit relieved. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think if we were in that sort of run of fixtures, in fact, let's just flip it and say this incident happens this time last year, I think we would all have just went, do you know what?
You'd say thanks, ma'am, wouldn't you? Thanks for your service, ma'am.
It's true though, wouldn't you? You would have probably went, oh, Postecoglou away today on the back of those results. We'd all probably have breathed a sigh of relief. So I'm not going to slag them too much for the relief that they're maybe feeling or expressing right now. But undeniably, from a league perspective, in terms of the title race, it suited them. But we can't change that. At the end of the day, they need to go at Postecoglou at some point, and it's their gift to give us that argument because it's a fair one. It is a balanced one, and it's one that we would use the other way around. But from a Celtic point of view, Phil, Mark's now touching on the benefits of this. Now, one thing we've seen over pre-season, Phil, was the benefits of getting long-term training under Ange Postecoglou. No Champions League qualifiers equals a better team in the park come day one of the league season. And we've proven it because we have started the season like a battering ram. But a team that's playing differently from last year. I think they're tighter at the back. We've talked about Joe Hart maybe playing that extra couple of yards further forward. I think the inverted fullbacks, Greg Taylor now looks like he's been playing that a lot longer than what he has. And we're getting goal contributions right across the board early on. Now, surely when you look at two more internationals that we've signed, by the way, after Rangers qualified for the Champions League, Celtic brought in two internationals. We thought Celtic might react to them qualifying for the Champions League. I dare say we expected that, though, because we thought Rangers might react to qualifying for the Champions League as well. Yep. Don't know what happened there. But it definitely would strike me that these two guys, Haksabanovic and Abildgaard, you would like to think, well, do you know what? No game this week. Extra time in the training ground with Ange. That ain't no bad thing, Phil.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Ange has been, it's quite obvious from day one that Ange is a training ground manager. This is him in his element now. You look at the evidence last season when we dropped out of Europe, how our form picked up, having one game a week, and the way this has started. As you've said before as well, Ange, he isn't here just to dominate domestically and be a wee bit better than Rangers. Champions League's what it's all about. It's going to do us a world of good to have a week break between that Real Madrid game and this Shakhtar game, because after seeing their result last week, and it took a lot of people by surprise, me included, this is going to be a lot harder than I think many people thought. And again, I'll put myself in that category because I looked at Shakhtar as the team we need to target as, this is the team we're going to be fighting with to qualify and further second. Now it's 4-1 away at Leipzig. I know a lot of people are saying, Leipzig are rubbish and all that, but they've just sacked their manager as well. So it shows me that they're going to pick up a bit of steam as well. The league games will take care of themselves. Who have they appointed?
Marco Rose.
Oh, he was the Salzburg manager when they beat us a few years ago.
It was a masterclass. So I just thought I didn't think they knew that. I'm sorry to come in there.
Too, no?
He was. I think he went because he was part of the. No, you've got the City group. Well, he was part of the Red Bull group, but it was Salzburg, and then he went to Mönchengladbach, and then he was at Dortmund. But it didn't work out at Dortmund, and he was sacked. But yeah, obviously they know him from his time at Salzburg, so he'll do pretty well. He did.
I thought he was very impressive as a manager. What he had that Salzburg, an Austrian team, guys. Let's be real here. We are not expecting to be able. It'd be the same way, probably the same way Celtic took on Real Madrid in that first half. You don't expect it because you think of the league that they're operating in, and we certainly thought we would have been able to have given Salzburg a far better contest than what we actually did, Phil. So just to cut in there, it's Marco Rose in charge now of Leipzig now. So it makes them a different animal a wee bit, doesn't it?
It does indeed. So I now puts even more pressure on you because the league stuff will take care of itself. I think domestically we're going to be absolutely fine this season. If we've got a team that competes in Europe, then this game against Livy, whenever it gets played, don't worry, we'll be fine in that one. And will be more concentrated, especially at this stage of the season where the Champions League games are coming thick and fast. This will be a benefit for him that he can put all his energy into this game with Shakhtar because they surprised a lot of people with that scoreline, and one Marian Shved as well, notched up 2 goals. So I'm quite glad about this break because this is all the game I've been thinking about ever since the Real Madrid one. The Livingston one to me was just like, I can't bother that. I'm on the Champions League right now, so I'm kind of happy to get a wee sort of break because we're going to be ready for this team on Wednesday night, man. Really ready.
Mark, it's undeniable that win by Shakhtar's definitely raised eyebrows. It's blown the Champions League group wide open for me because any slight preconceptions we had on the group. Now, Real Madrid has probably shifted slightly about us, albeit they got the job done away from home, but they probably now have Celtic in a higher regard than what they did before the fixture. We've certainly looked at it with undeniably a degree of ignorance, Mark, at the fact Leipzig come from the Bundesliga, Shakhtar coming from Ukraine will be in a bit of disarray, not playing their home fixtures at home, for example, and their squad being turned over. Yeah, they go to Germany and blow Leipzig away to the point they sacked the manager the next day.
Yeah, mate, and
new manager brings up. Sorry, just quickly. Am I delayed? Sorry, I don't know what's happening there. Sorry, Mark. Am I here?
No, you just carry on, mate. You hear you now. You stopped, then jumped into another part of the sentence, but carry on, mate.
So, that's actually just how I talk.
Snap.
But I think the Leipzig now, despite getting beat 4-1, are a different animal because of the Marco Rose appointment. So we've got to be very wary of that. And of course, we need to respect the result that Shakhtar had. Typical Celtic, they get a draw that you think that they're going to be competitive in. And of course, we still have hopes for that. But undeniably, the two teams, for two different reasons, are now stronger than what they were before the round 1 of fixtures. Leipzig, because they've got a new boss. Shakhtar, because they're coming the back now of a 4-1 win in Germany.
Well, I think it's reality just hit a few people. I mean, we're the bottom ranked team in this group. In fact, they're the bottom ranked team in the tournament. So that's one thing we all need to kind of realise. I realised it very quickly when I seen the scoreline coming in against Leipzig that a Shakhtar team only going to be lying down to anybody. Okay, there's sometimes you get a perfect storm. You get a manager who's just about to get the sack, players down in tools. Maybe that's what's happened with Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk, but I don't think you go away from home in the Champions League and put 4 past that team unless you've got severe players there, you know what I mean? And I think Celtic have maybe it's came at a good time for Celtic. I think Celtic will get a wee bit of a wake-up call in terms of the fans. I'm pretty sure Ange Postecoglou doesn't need any reminding of the opposition and how easy you can be hit. I mean, we played Postecoglou, with all due respect, a team with the budget of Ross County. They shouldn't have got anywhere near us, and they put 5 buys, could have been 15, let's be honest.
I know what you mean.
So I think Celtic, it could have been 15 boys. I think we're lucky to get out of that stadium. But I said before the tournament started, I said 3 points could get us 3rd place. That's been blown out the water because I think them getting an away result, I didn't want to see any away wins for anybody or in Celtic, to be quite honest with you. Because Real Madrid aside, I think it's going to be a 3-way tie, a 3-way battle for 2nd place. And I was willing to concede that Celtic would be fighting for 3rd. But the Shakhtar getting their points, but then Leipzig's maybe going to get that new manager bounce as well. So,
well, Mark, very quickly,
we've very soon.
Your brothers just jumped in to say they just beat Dortmund 3-0 at the weekend, Leipzig.
Well,
no.
Where are you going? I know Dortmund are like really hot and cold. They can be Champions League contenders one weekend and looking like a bottom 5 the next. I think they can sometimes do that. Just judging by the results, I always pop up on my Twitter feed, but that's not good news. And that could be the new manager bounce that these teams tend to get, but it's worrying me. To be quite honest with you, I'm the opposite of Phil. Cards on the table. Livingston is a far more important game of football than Shakhtar Donetsk in terms of our league title, which is the most important thing for Celtic is to win the league and qualify again for the Champions League to get that extra 40 million to get that extra level of player and to give that Ange that extra budget to get to the higher player than Juranovic, the higher player than O'Reilly. And we can't do that unless we win the league. We're not going to be at a position where we're going to win European trophies and automatically qualify. So our bread and butter is to win the league.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, boys, I want Celtic to evolve as a club, but I want that to happen firstly on the park. I want Juranovic's replacement to be the next £6 million player. I want that to be lined up for next season. But that also requires a team on the park just now to reach certain goals, which is like win the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with Phil with that. I think Celtic have got more than enough to go through this league campaign and win the title. But see, got a time castle and losing a goal within 5 minutes or getting a red card, that 5 points becomes 2, and you go fuck, we've got 3 more derby matches. That complexion just totally changes. We need to get into every game like every game is the biggest and most important game. European football isn't my thing, boys. So you know that, Phil. But I would never ever look at any SPFL game and think it was a nuisance or a nonsense or something that's in the road. I think quite the opposite. I think if we're going to progress on the park and off the park, we need results with the current team to get us into the higher pot of cash for next season, which means qualifying for next year's Champions League, which happens automatically with a league title, and that's my priority this season.
So, Mark, when does that scale tip? It is interesting what you're saying, because there's a lot of validity in that, because he's absolutely right. You can't keep progressing as a club, Phil, if you're focusing on away days to Shakhtar Donetsk. You end up falling behind the league because you've took your eye off the ball. You end up not winning the title. You end up having the lottery that is in fact, it's not even a lottery; it's a one-sided lottery. That is the Champions League playoffs. You don't qualify, you're 2 steps back, not 1 step forward anymore. But let's flip it a wee bit and go, I get that, but at the same time, how do you then keep gauging Celtic's progress? Because realistically, you could constantly go back to the argument of, well, the bread and butter is the league. And before you know it, you're actually just kind of keeping your own safety blanket on a wee bit as well. Now, I think that's not what Mark's doing right now, but I'm playing devil's advocate with the topic of conversation because I think that's good debate. And I think at the same time, if we keep going, I know, but the league, remember the league, I think that's sometimes blinded us. I actually think it became not so much just the league, but the treble stuff almost became treble's more important. And I genuinely think, still to this day, if we were to crash out of Europe, finish 4th in that group, there'd be less outcry than if we get pumped out the League Cup in the next round. That, for me, is where I differ. That is far more upsetting for me if we're not in Europe beyond this group stage than if we go out a tournament. I'll see Celtic win another 20 times at least in my lifetime. I won't see us always get beyond Christmas in Europe. There's many reasons for that. We can debate them all you want. I have many a times on this show. But Europe is unfortunately not through my fault, not through the players that we've had at the time's fault necessarily, but through bad structure, bad management, bad managing success that Celtic's done. European success, unfortunately for me, is the luxury, and I feel the pinnacle at times. Winning the league's a different kettle of fish, because whilst it's your bread and butter, it can also hamstring your aspirations elsewhere. That's the angle I'm going to take that. But just before I come to you, Ali, legend man, he has become a YouTube member. Thank you so much, mate.
Is that number 50? That's number 50, isn't it?
I think I might have said that for a bit of gloss at the start, Phil. But we'll say
man, 50. You killed the illusion.
It might actually be. It might be number 50. I'm not counting it. But what I will say is there's 121 watching live right now. It's no bad for a Sunday Blether at brunch time. Not only Celtic Pod live every single Sunday brunch, albeit if Mark needs to drag me out of my bed, not physically, but over the phone every Sunday. We will get here and we will deliver. Phil, there's 2 sides to the argument.
There is, mate. Again, just see with the European thing, there's that thing where you want to stay in Europe as long as possible, because again, Europe attracts better players. If we crash out of this group and finish bottom, it's no good for the January window, where you've not really got, we've got this Europa League tie to look forward to, and a chance there if we've crashed out. So that's also, I see where you're coming from, though. There is a bit of a fine balance there, because obviously we have to win the league to keep getting it. But what I just meant by the Livingston game was, when it gets rearranged, whenever it gets replayed, whenever that is, whenever they fit it in, I don't know where they're going to fit it in just now.
January.
It's going to be 2023, isn't it?
Like
It's going to be, aye. I think the result will take care of itself. I genuinely think, well, I'm more thinking about them and their problems, because when they regroup and go to play Aberdeen, there's a good chance that they'll probably, win that one. But I think in terms of us, we've not got much to worry about. I think, again, domestically, we'll keep on powering on. But just in terms of Europe, I'd say I always want to try and have some sort of European football. And I do think if we don't, if we come bottom in this group this season, it's like, oh man, I was going to say, I don't know if it would necessarily be seen as a failing, because the dynamic has changed so much after one round of fixtures in this group, where a few weeks ago we were like, okay, we've got a chance here, and now you're like, you see Shakhtar's result. I don't know if it's some sort of divine intervention getting involved here, where obviously with the Ukrainian situation, suddenly they've just found an extra spring in their step, a bit of adversity, has brought the best of them, like the Ukrainian national team, stuff like that, with some of their results. I don't know if something like that's happened, and obviously with the Leipzig manager change now, so now you're like, well, geez, we're really up against it now. So I just think it would have been to concentrate fully on this Shakhtar game, because we're now going into this one where I think somebody put a comment up saying, is it a must-win game? I don't know if I'd say it's a must-win on Wednesday, but it's a must-not-lose. I'd say on Wednesday, we have to come away with something to have a chance, because if we were to, obviously I was always in Real Madrid, and then you've got 2 away games, and traditionally Celtic don't travel well in Europe from time to time. There's a chance that after 3 games we go on 0 points, so we have to try and take something in the next 2 away games. But I say the dynamic in this group has changed so much after one set of results, so now it's kind of up in the air. So we'll see how they go with it anyway. But there is what I take on board what you're saying regarding there's a balance. Try to find it. It's pretty hard. Where what do you prioritise? But I say at this stage of the season, we're still.
I'll ask you this, Phil. Right, I'll ask you this, and I'll ask you too, Bhoycie, if I can. Right.
Absolutely.
What would you rather have? Right. Celtic beat Real Madrid home and away, right, or finish second in the Premiership this season.
Beating Real Madrid home,
I'd rather win the league, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think winning the league that because that's regarded as a trophy. I think you also need to remember beating Real Madrid home and away could still mean that we don't qualify for the group, because we could lose the other 4 games. So therefore, they're meaningless victories. But in terms of
that's what I'm saying. I think they are, Bhoycie. I think they're all meaningless. We're never going to win it.
When did it become meaningful? Because you've said you're hoping for open on the park. We're going to progress. We're going to get an extra 40 million.
Yeah, I think it's a long haul, Bhoycie.
So when does your mindset change?
I think when we start to become a club that's it's constantly shaking up trees, finishing second in groups, getting to the quarters every now and again, maybe quite to the last 16. It's a very long haul, Bhoycie, and I think we've got a manager who is capable. I think, given that next level of player that I think that the money brings, because I said before, what would this guy do with a budget like Chelsea? I mean, this guy just makes any player in his dressing room better.
I agree with that.
My point is, just now, like say, I know Phil kind of explained what he meant there by Livingston in the game there, and I get what he means now. But my point with the first retorter was saying that if we want to go to the next level on the park, we're going to need to start building in terms of getting the next level of player. That requires winning the league, which to give you that £40 million or whatever it is we get. So that is how we build up. That is how we build up a longer term thing for Celtic. In the future, I want to see Celtic playing against teams like Liverpool and Chelsea and all these big teams and getting results. I don't think that's above Celtic's capabilities. I mean, the club itself, the structure, is set up to be. We could walk into the Premiership tomorrow. We are set up. Their structure. There's no ifs or buts about that. And we could do the same at the top table in Europe. We'll just look at the finances. But luckily for Celtic, we don't need the finances to still pull off a good couple of great results in Europe. I want to see us beat Real Madrid. It's a DVD game, Bhoycie. It's a DVD game. It's something you talk about for 20 years, like the Barcelona game. It's something that you tell your Wayne you were at, etc., etc. But ultimately, that's all it is.
See, but this is where
I'm saying, mate.
I don't think it's fair. It's good debate. This is what it's all about. It's different perspectives, Mark. It's different perspectives on it, because for me, I just go, well, when does that end? Where does it end? When is it that we go, right, we're going to be, come ça about Celtic's performance in the Champions League this year because we've not got the team, we've not seen Ange at that next level. We get the 40 million in the bank next summer. We only spend 10, 15 million of it. The fans are in jubilation again about the investment made. Then we go into the Champions League and again we're in there with a water pistol at a gunfight and we go, well, who cares? When does that cycle end? And I think sometimes, and I'll be honest, I don't speak for Ange, but I've got the vibe I take off him is that he says, no, bullshit to that. Doesn't matter what tools we've got going in there. We're in here to win every single game that we play in, and we are going to do it our way. And the only way we're going to learn is by taking Real Madrid defeats badly, not well, but taking those defeats badly. And I think Mark's touching on something that's very interesting because I think under Rodgers in particular, when we were Stepping Stone FC, you're right. Beat Real Madrid and get the DVD out for Christmas. Fine, totally take that point. I think Andrew would be saying bollocks to your DVD because we've not played them away yet. Things like that. I think that attitude shift, guys, is where Celtic's European ambition will either begin or never grow. It is that simple. And right now, Celtic's created the problem in Mark's head and his blasé sort of attitude to Europe. This isn't a Mark Kearney problem. This is a Celtic problem because Celtic have treated Europe with disdain for the last 10, 11 years. It is undeniable. Mark's paid his season ticket every year. He's consistently ploughed in his money. Have Celtic consistently ploughed in their money to a cause for Europe every year, Phil? Have they fuck? So one's been consistent in his argument here. Celtic aren't being consistent. Celtic have struck gold with Postecoglou. And what we're hoping for is a complete landslide shift in opinion from fans like Mark to the boardroom level, all pinned on one guy, and that is Postecoglou. That now we're to take the Champions League seriously. Whilst I disagree with Mark, maybe, you can see where he's coming from. We've treated the competition utterly ridiculously over the last decade. We've treated it as something that's an afterthought. We've treated it as something that is a wee Bhoycie bonus. Phil, now we're then expected to have guys like me sitting there who's trying to be half, I'm always a half pint full, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, when we look at it, you're going, I'm trying to talk about us competing with Real Madrid and going, that's the starting foundation. But the facts and the evidence that's there would tell you this would be very difficult.
Do you know, something on Tuesday night that happened that I found very, very, a real landmark moment was on the way home for the game, on the radio, Postecoglou got interviewed by whoever for, whatever, say, I don't really see you covering it. It was one of those, it was a press conference, the UEFA. It's actually a press conference you have to go and attend, and all these different questions get thrown at him. It's not like a direct interview, one-on-one with him. But basically, the question was, about, you're happy with the performance tonight? And I quite like that he was like, no, I wasn't. I mean, we just lost 3-0 to Real Madrid. I was, I think a lot of people would expect him to give it we gave it a good go, go there, guys. He was quite like, no, I'm not happy with the way the players sort of abandoned the game plan and lost their composure because we did play pretty well up there. So I quite like that shift in attitude. I like that we went toe-to-toe with Real Madrid and ultimately, we still could have been nothing. We still got our pants pulled down and beat 3-0. Yes. And the manager isn't giving it the, at least we're happy to be here. We gave it a good go for half a game. No, he expected more. And I like that. And one thing that was really, really telling was the next day, obviously what happened in Amsterdam, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did his press conference after the game and said, we just can't compete, and he spent hundreds of millions of pounds. And I've seen Rangers fans on Twitter actually saying, compare and contrast day two manager statements, and they're like, I know who I'd rather have. And they're talking about Ange Postecoglou because Ange's quote was basically, no, I expected better after that. But his was like waving ironically, the white flag of surrender, which they claim they never do. But yeah, he was like, no, we can't compete. We need to spend hundreds of millions. But Ange Postecoglou was like, no, I expect a bit better there. So I quite like that shift in attitude, and hopefully the board can see that, he can click on to what he's trying to achieve here. Because I say fans like me are hearing that, and I'm like, do you know what? Aye, you're right. We could have done better there. I'm actually believing it. I'm like, Hi, it gets you run for a brick wall for the guy, and all you had to do was just say. And also, I just love as well that even if he wins a game, loses a game, or draws a game, his demeanour never changes. It's always the exact same delivery compared to some other managers who throw their toys at the pram. They're all happy and smiling when it's going their way, but when it doesn't, it's suddenly like, you know, they get all angry. Ange is the exact same, win, lose, or draw. I love that as well. But yeah, I found that fascinating on Tuesday night when he was just kind of like, no, I'm not too happy with the performance at all. I like that.
Very good, Mark. I think that is exactly what we want from our manager now. We know that we're not going to be happy to be there, and Ange's basically, he's looking at you right now, Mark, and he's going, "I'll fucking change your mind on this, big boy. I will have you buying your Champions League group stage tickets next season," and that only comes from what inspiration we can give a fan like yourself. Do you know what I mean? In these sort of ties, and I think Real Madrid's I think it's a starting point. I appreciate it's still a 3-0 defeat, right? Okay, don't celebrate that too much. Absolutely, and that's fine. But I do think it's a starting point. Now, it's very interesting. We will have a wee nosy, Mark, because I know you're pushed for time a wee bit here, so I do appreciate that we went on a wee bit later, pal. But
Gio's... quarter past or so.
Oh, cool, mate. Gio's comments were getting contrasted and compared, as Phil says, right? Now, I think what Gio was doing is getting ridiculed, but I actually think he was very politely, as far as I'm concerned, Mark, very politely saying, I didn't get one player after we qualified for the Champions League. Right? He's getting turned into Gio expects hundreds of millions to compete in Champions League. That's not what he was saying. He's saying other clubs have spent hundreds of millions. We've spent zero since we qualified for the competition. But he did it very politely. He was on a wee bit of self-preservation then. He's on the back of two scuddins. He's got to remind the media and any potential future shooter that this ain't all on me. I've not become a bad manager overnight. I was in a Europa League final only 5 months ago. You know, I've just knocked out PSV on the way to this group stage. So he's letting you know this isn't all my doing. I actually kind of got that. I think the way he's worded it has made him up there for ridicule. Of course, Angie's post-match comment, again, when you start comparing them, again, put him up there for ridicule. But Mark, there does seem to be a wee bit trouble a brew across the city. I mean, you had a fantastic chat on the Bhoycie bus. And Mark, we're going to get your lotto numbers for next week, mate, because a lot of the things you called about a certain Mr. David King are coming to fruition. This man was in the papers only on Friday, no less, calling for changes at boardroom level. Now, Phil McFournames, as we were calling him, it's only a bit of banter. Phil McGivelan was saying, you know, only this week, he's now been documenting, Mark, things that were eerily close to what you were spouting about on the Bhoycie bus only 7 to 10 days ago. Is there more trouble a brew with our rivals, Mark, than what we thought?
Well, yes, I think Club 1872 have been very vocal since the turn of the year about boardroom level at Rangers. I don't think they're happy with this guy Robinson or Parks. I think they're quite dubious about their actual intentions inside the club. Club 1872 have been backed vocally and probably financially by Dave King for a very long time now. In fact, Dave King was committing to the media and offered, don't get me wrong, I'm going to listen to this guy, he talks a lot of shite, but he offered to pay the £3 million financial hit the Rangers were going to take should they cancel the Australian tour, which they did. And that piqued my interest, boys. I thought that was excellent PR. And I mentioned it to you as far back as then. It was midsummer. And I said, because around about the same time, he made 2 appearances in the media. I think one was at a golf day as a caddy, the other one was at Wimbledon. Aye. And these things don't happen. People have got friends in the media, Bhoycie, and sometimes phone calls can be made. You put your photograph out there and you remember Dave King. And then before you know it, he's got a wee comment or two about this, that and the other. The fella recently, Rangers fans were beginning to worry about, even a week or so before the window closed, right after they qualified, they were like, shows the money. And they began to wonder very quickly what was happening. Now, I was vocal as well, saying that Rangers would spend money, and it backfired on me. I'm glad it did. But what I also said was, if they lose against Celtic, shoe watch, this is just brewing up to be a perfect wee cup of tea for the Celtic fans to drink. Dave King is very, very vocal that he didn't think the Rangers board that's in place is the one that's got to take Rangers to the next level. And that's been backed by the board's decision not to spend money. There's theories I've got and you've got about the share price, potential investors. They need to clear the decks. That's the way business works. I think we all understand that to a very small degree at least. But I think there's changes afoot at Ibrox. I think Dave King's got to be coming back in at some point. I think that's fairly obvious. And not only does that spell crazy changes in the board, it also could lead to some drastic decision making financially, going back into stupid kit deals, spending money on your likes of your Joey Bartons that have passed it. And Bhoycie, that just doesn't add up to a good system again. I think Rangers have calmed down the last year or so since that guy's left. They're beginning to turn the corner. They're not spending as recklessly as what they were doing. I just think Rangers are going back down that roller coaster, and they're going down the way in terms of club, the status of the club in terms of like board level. I think they're I can just see it all coming, Bhoycie. I think I'd be worried if I was a Rangers fan just now, because I don't see money being available in January either. If a week after getting a £40 million jackpot, there wasn't a penny spent, and then the manager coming out and you were right, Bhoycie. The manager did come out and say, "This isn't all on me," in a nice way.
He did it politely,
He did it very succinctly, aye.
Mark, I think it's very interesting because when you contrast and compare his Dave King's sort of attitude the first time round, many people don't like this in the Rangers fraternity, but Mike Ashley was doing everything on absolute bargain basement budget costing, right? They were spending so within their means it was unreal. But at the end of the day, he's looking at it going, not even every team in the Championship is full time. Why are we needing to keep buying Rangers level players? Why do we need to have the press conference at the Hilton? Obviously, he took the piss a wee bit with the marquee on the pitch, and I think that was a bit of bad blood. But the thing is, Dave King stepped in when Rangers were about to become self-sufficient. Could the fact Dave King is seeing Rangers earn Europa League final run money, Calvin Bassey money, Joe Aribo money, Champions League money, the boy in January, the right back, that money's still there. Patterson money, and is it that holy shit they're about to be on a level footing again? Well, that makes me not really relevant. I think he's dancing about his living room at the result of the midweek. I genuinely do. I think because now he goes, I've got the perfect narrative. I've got the narrative because they didn't spend. I know deep down that's good business for the club because they're actually trying to get themselves on a sound level footing, but I can spin it into don't support the team, get 4-0 defeats, trust your Uncle Dave, I'll spend the longer, I'll get you Steven Gerrards of the world. And I think that is what he is setting it all up for again. I think there was no one celebrating Ajax's fourth goal more than Mr. King. I don't know, what side of the pitch he thought it went in at, but that's a different story. I definitely think he's loving it. Now, even if we're all wild on this, at the end of the day, you have, succinctly or not, a manager kind of shifting blame onto the current board. You've got someone with a serious vested interest at the club and owed millions by them coming out and having serious questions about the board. You've got a board that's brought in tens of millions of pounds full in revenue that they are point blank refusing to spend. They've got a league campaign that is 5 points behind already and perhaps been saved by the fact, and we'll go back to the top of the show, Pittodrie isn't happening. You've got a Champions League campaign that they did brilliantly to qualify for, but now all seems a damp squib after a 4-0 hounding. They've got no look for inspiration in terms of recruitment until January. By then, it could be all too little too late. There is a storm of brew with our rivals, Phil. We can't deny it. And on the Bhoycie bus, we do not mind discussing it. I know a lot of people go, just focus on Celtic. Fuck that. I like the competition we're in. And the competition we're in, we're going to look sometimes over the hedge, over the neighbour's fence, and we're going to look at how the extension's coming along. And, we'll keep up with the Joneses. In fact, it looks like the Joneses are struggling to keep up with us.
Always got to keep your eye on the competition, mate. The reason why we faltered in 10 in a row is because we got lazy and took our eye off the competition and didn't pay attention. You've got to always keep an eye on what's going on. And again, I need to go back to it. Friday night. We talked on Nostalgia about 2012. So this is all amazing how it's all happening again. Another day, another dollar, another problem at Ibrox with finances. I said it on Friday night. I went, this headline, there was rumours that there was problems behind the scenes. You could literally plug that headline pretty much anywhere within the last decade, and it just fits. And here we are again with another one. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I agree with what you say, boys. I think Van Bronckhorst was sort of politely sort of telling the board that you didn't back. I mean, a year ago, remember Ange Postecoglou after the game said, maybe I've not been forceful enough and the players that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So he did do something, not in a similar type of manner, where it's a sort of subtle way of telling the board and letting the press know that all's not well, really. I'm not really being backed here. I think that's what Van Bronckhorst was doing to a degree, but obviously it's made for the old memes and stuff like that. And yeah, we sort of say on Thursday morning, you're seeing Rangers fans on Twitter legitimately saying, compare and contrast the two quotes, I would much rather have a manager with Ange's philosophy than Gio's. So yeah, it didn't do him many favours in the eyes of the board, but I understand what he was doing. I understand what he was doing in terms of he's trying to get the board to sort of like back him, but a lot of the fans didn't see it that way. A lot of the fans just saw it as, nah, get rid of him. He's no go-to. He's not a true Ranger. Get him out. So it's all that part. But I used to say Ange done it like a year ago, very subtly as well. When you think about it,
I'm glad you remembered that, Phil. I think that's a brilliant point. And do you know what? I've actually seen Van Bronckhorst. One thing I will say is he's almost too classy for that lot. He is a decent person. You can tell. I mean, at the end of the day, he got to room share with Henrik Larsson when he was in Glasgow. Did you know that they flat shared?
Okay. I knew they were friends, but I didn't know that. No,
I think he was his best man at his wedding. Was he not?
Maybe
he was Van Bronckhorst's best man or something.
That might be true. But I think he does. He's came over well, and he's trying to get a message across without firstly turning it into warfare like Scott Parker potentially did at Bournemouth, and he got sacked. He's trying to also, though, at the end of the day, protect his reputation, because as we always talk about on the bus, these managers can be the soundest people or come over as the soundest people. And this takes us to our next point. Postecoglou doesn't worry about contracts and that, mate. Hey, I let other people talk about that stuff. Well, that's fine, but we've got a responsibility to not let that be the attitude. Not let emotion get in the way. Not let someone's soundness of character get in the way. Not let someone who doesn't seem that kind of guy get in the way. This is cutthroat business. And the same way we want Celtic to be cutthroat on the park, they need to be the same off it, Mark. Often it doesn't seem to be the case. Let's be quite clear here. The campaign doesn't stop on this bus. We're going to highlight it every single show till it's done. It may well be at Ange's homecoming tour becomes the Ange new contract tour, as Mark Kearney has speculated, and I love that theory. But Mark, with every passing day, for me, that pressure needs to be turned back on to Celtic at some point and go, there's an elephant in the room here, and that is the fact our manager effectively is free to talk to any other club at any given time, because it is peanuts what the compensation would be. What is 12 months worth of his wage? That's it, done. There's no protection on that. He is the most valuable asset of the club. We've spoke at length about just how big he is. He's the director of football. He's the chief scout. He's the coach. He's the manager. He is the guy who built the bridge between fans and club all over again when it seemed, irretrievable. He's done all of this. He's the team that, had the bollocks to go toe-to-toe with Real Madrid. He's the guy who's put on an identity in the footballers right now that we see at Celtic. I've never known so many individual players to have so many songs about them. Never known this in my life. And that is all stemmed from one guy. So when you weigh up that importance, Mark, it's utterly ludicrous to think he is in as precarious a position in terms of his contract as what he is. I'm sorry, whether Ange is laid back about it or not, that's not really my point here. I'm not laid back about it. You're not laid back about it. Neither should be Celtic.
Well, this is it. I mean, we've long said football's turned into a business. Well, if that's the case, we need to start acting like a business and securing our assets.
Brilliant.
Protecting our assets, you know what I mean? And I think Ange Postecoglou, you're right. Whether his personality is of such, he doesn't think about things like that. The people who are paid to secure our assets should be looking at him as an asset and protecting us long term. I agree with you. Managers can come and go, but you've got to protect them to the extent where £9 million for Rodgers is a thing of the norm for Celtic. You'd be financially rewarded should the worst happen.
Correct.
But also as well, I mean, for the club, I'll put it this way, Ange is building something at Celtic, right? But it speaks for an agent when he's talking to his player, when Ange wants him to come to the club, and maybe the player's saying, I like the sound of this. How long is he there for? Oh, he's got a 12-month long contract. Well, hang on a minute, I have to sign a 5-year contract with this guy.
Yeah.
You've sold me Celtic on this guy's ambition. You've sold me Celtic on this guy's playing style, which is different to any other managers. You're telling me if I hit his process, right?
That's very good.
He's away in 12 months. I'm not saying that's what would happen, but that's his long-term contract. But I have to sign a 5-year contract, and a guy can come in next week, and that's the case of any football player. They sign for a manager who suits their type of play, and they can all go tomorrow, no matter how long the contract is. But I think Celtic should be looking at Ange Postecoglou as the glue that's holding the club together.
Correct.
You say that soundboard for the players that's and the staff, that they can see it, that everybody trusts him, the fans trust him, the media's got a respect for him.
Yep.
He's a level above. I'd probably say he's united the fans in a way that probably only Rodgers did to a certain extent. But Marc and Phil did great because the club when Marc and Phil was there was just one. Everybody was just going in one direction, and the fruits of that labour you can see in the park. So if Celtic are wanting to build this guy's profile, that's good for the fans because that way, the higher Celtic become under this guy, we're going to benefit from it. But people in football will notice how good he's doing. I mean, Brighton, I think they could swat aside that, to be quite honest with you. I don't think Brighton's going to interest him. But next time it might be an Aston Villa. It might even be a Spurs. You know what I mean? It could go as high as that. So these things are going to happen. See if that does happen, it means Celtic are being successful. So do you know something? I want him to get attention in the longer term. But I want Celtic to be at least at the situation where they're sitting in the getting the nitty-gritty, his contract on the table and asking him the question, look, Ange, you're telling the fans, you're telling us this is a project, this is a long-term project. We'll sign that paper, show us that the project is there. But Ange, which is good for Celtic and all, can turn around and say to the board, right, this is the project I'm proposing to you. I want guarantees about this project. I want guarantees that this budget's going to be going up and up every season should I hit these targets. And if I sign that paper, I'm not going to be another Neil Lennon or another Ronnie Dyler, somebody who's promised something that never got.
There's got to be two sides to this, Phil. There's got to be two sides to this because you also feel as well, whilst if you're acutely aware, like I'm sure Ange is, of how good a job you're doing, you're acutely aware my stock has risen tenfold since I got this job at Celtic in terms of my European reputation. There's two sides to it because players constantly, when they do well, want rewarded. They want told, I've done amazing. Give me a new improved terms. Ange seems to be almost going this other way. Mark, you're giving us the thumbs up there. Are you off ski?
I was just checking the time there, boys. It's a 15:15. I'm
Go for it, mate.
Do a bit of visiting. So
no
enjoy the
worries
show
at all,
today,
my
guys. Great chat, Phil, Bhoycie. I'll
a legend,
be watching while I'm getting ready. Cheers, guys.
Thanks. You, pal.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. See you, Mark.
Bye, mate.
Top man. Mark Kearney there, ladies and gentlemen. What a legend. Paddy Lavitt.
The judge.
You nearly put my eye. I just had to block someone as well for the comments. Philip H. Anselmo. I'll make you famous for 2 seconds, son, by telling you are blocked from the chat.
I saw that comment as well. I saw it.
I mean, it's just nonsense. I don't even give him the benefit of reading it out, mate, because frankly, he's an embarrassment. He can come in under any alter ego he wants, and I'll block that too. You have a good Sunday though, pal. Phil, we won't keep you back too long. There's 163 watching live though, which is fantastic. But Rooster came in with a brilliant comment before I was distracted by that idiot. And that's it, yeah. He says, we went 2 years without a single successful transfer before Postecoglou, get him signed, meet all his investment, always hiring, and always restructuring demands. Now, whilst it might come over, Ange is being very laid back, Phil, I don't buy it. And he's not got to where he's got to by going, oh, I don't pay attention to contracts. He pays attention. He's meticulous in everything, Phil. That is someone keeping themselves open for offer. So Celtic need to make him the offer that his long-term plan, hopes and aspirations are matched by. Now, that's not difficult. We were going to offer Eddie Howe his merry men, Phil, as I called it.
Aye.
And it was all 20 of them. All Postecoglou would want is, can you meet what I want? Because I see Celtic going here. And Celtic have form for not being able to meet ambitious managers'
They do.
you know, aspirations. Martin O'Neill sounded klaxon again because Martin O'Neill wasn't met with it, even though he had far more evidence than what Ange Postecoglou's got. He comes out a European final.
Aye.
He comes out of a European final where we're beaten by the team that is about to dominate Europe for 12 months because they go and win the Europa League and the Champions League. They're under probably the best manager in the last 25 years in Jose Mourinho. We take them to extra time. The body of evidence is there. What was he rewarded with? What was he rewarded with?
Was it David Fernandez or was that the season before? I can't even mind.
I think David Fernandez. I think it was David Fernandez he got. Janino was the year after because
Henri Camara was a year after as well.
I think it was David Fernandez he got, and maybe
4 season.
Did Stefan Onshaw join maybe that summer? I mean, I don't know.
I think he did. Aye.
Like it's just a joke. When you look back, you know, we really, really were taking the piss. You know, not acceptable. Just not acceptable. Now, when you have a look at Brendan Rodgers' hopes and aspirations, Brown, stay calm, Brown Warrior.
Sorry, Brown Warrior. Sorry.
Yeah, stay calm, mate. Stay calm. But at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers undeniably had plans to go, right, okay, phase 1 done. Let's go into phase 2. It's going to mean more spending. But it's going to mean, but I've done 2 Champions League qualifications through 3 rounds, through 2 rounds. I've done that. I've done my bit. I've got you the balance sheets. I've got your record ever club turnover in the history of our club, over £100 million. I now want us to spend some of that. And for Celtic, you know, people can argue, well, he's not got a shite record in the transfer market. That's not the point. A manager who's doing his bit needs to be then given the leverage to be able to keep that going, regardless of what you think of Brendan Rodgers on a, you know, his managerial track record of transfers. That is not the fucking point. The point is he's done his bit. He's providing on the park. He has brought you the revenue. He then needs to be supported to take it to the next level. It wasn't. Ange Postecoglou, give him, as Rooster says, the investment, the hiring and the restructuring demands. Give him the club he's always dreamed of. Give him the, and you're the fucking man here. You're the man. Because see, at the end of the day, Phil, we were quite happy to make him the man. When I described all the list of jobs and tasks and titles that he's actually undertook over the last 12 months, that's been through utter default. That has to be rewarded and properly done.
Again, I think I've said it before on the show, but it's all about protecting your assets and stuff like that. And I thought the point that Mark made was superb that I never thought about. A player comes to sign a long-term deal because he's bought into Ange Postecoglou, but then he finds out, well, the manager's actually on a 1-year rolling contract. And a lot of people, when it comes to a rolling contract, I've seen a lot of people misinterpret what it actually means. It doesn't mean it's like, you know, it's a year and it rolls down and he signs a new contract at the end of the year and it continues. It's like his contract right now will expire on the 11th of September 2023. Yes. Tomorrow will be the 12th of September 2023. Expires every day it goes. So it's just like a 1-year thing that just keeps moving with every single day. But at the same time, it doesn't, I can see from a player point of view, as like Mark said, you know, you're coming here to buy into the manager and you sign your deal, but you find out he's on this deal. So it just makes so much sense for Celtic to get him tied down because people are paying attention to what he's doing. You know, I know Scottish football is seen as a bit of a backwater league and stuff, but Celtic are a huge name, and I've said this before on the show. What happened to us in 2020-2021 season, the 10-in-a-row failure, was worldwide football news of how much a laughingstock we became. And then when he took over and turned it around in such a quick spell, that again gets people noticing it from outside the Scottish football. They're like, wow, that's a hell of a job he's done there, given the disarray that Celtic were in a year before. And of course, his connection to the City group will again get people going, he must have something, this guy. He must. And again, Mark was right talking about some of the teams that, you know, you've got to look out for. I tell you a team that I would be worried about if they sacked a manager would be Newcastle. Because I think Eddie Howe's just there now because he filled a gap and they're happy to stick with him. But see if it's the Saudi Arabian group to go them. They obviously have ambitions of Newcastle becoming the best team in the world. They've got so much money now. Eddie Howe's the manager that's going to take them there. See if they were to sack him. What Mark said about, imagine Andrew, a massive budget. They're the type of teams I'd be looking out for. I'd be like, oh shit, Brighton, I'm not worried about at all. That one, that doesn't even, that's not a blip on my radar right now. But a team like that's got a lot of financial backing right now. Yeah, they've got a lot of aspirations to be the top team in England. And it's like, oh, no, Brighton don't have any aspirations to become the top team. They're happy to just sit where they are. But a team like that, yeah, I would look out for these. So Celtic need to get some sort of deal sorted. And I really do hope what Mark said is true, that when we do go to Australia for the Ange Cup in a couple of months' time, that it is some sort of like, a big announcement that comes in and he signs the contract. That would be phenomenal if that's what they were planning. But then again, that would mean that the board would be thinking quite rationally there. And as Mark always says, that would show that they're human as well. Because he's like, no chance would they be thinking that one. But I really do hope that it's true this time. I really do, because yeah, you've got to protect him. He's as much of an asset as the players. He really is. It's not just the players that earn the money. He's the most important man at the club. Most important guy. He really is.
You think how the players were, the fans were reacting to the potential aspect that maybe, just maybe, Phil, we won't permanently sign Cameron Carter-Vickers or Jota. They were only on loans. In fact, the conversations about tie them down, Celtic, began as early as January. Tie him down permanently. I don't understand how there can be a difference in logic. And I'll tell you, the only reason people are trying to be relaxed about it is because of a rhetoric coming from Ange, that he's all laid back about it. But I'm sorry, but once bitten, twice is shy. If you think I'm going to believe every word that comes out of Postecoglou's mouth, you are mistaken. This guy's a wonderful manager. He is definitely more intelligent than me. And when he says, I don't worry about contracts and stuff. Well, one thing I am not is a fool, Phil. Well, I am in many aspects. But I think with that, I go, oh, bollocks to that. That is playing to an element of supporters who go, if he's relaxed, I'm relaxed because I trust everything else he says. I think it's very, very clever when he's saying things like that, Phil. There is absolutely no way in my mind that Ange Postecoglou, when you look how meticulous he is with every other player that he's signed, with every single aspect of our team formations, our strategy, our performance, why on earth, when it comes to his own contract, would he suddenly be going, blasé, I didn't worry about that. It's bullshit. It's because, in my opinion, it suits him to be 1 month rolling. And also, in my opinion, and I've got to be clever here, I've got to give kudos to the board to an extent, because I don't even think, despite all my reservations about them, Phil McGinley, I don't think they would be that ridiculous. They didn't ask him the question already about, Ange, long-term deal. Two ways we can look at that. I'm going to say they have. I am convinced they have. So is Ange saying no because it suits him being the rolling contract? Or is it like Rooster's alluding to in the comments? Is it because you're not actually giving him all the tools that a manager of his stature is deserving of? Why sign a long-term deal with, you've got all the same shit to deal with, Ange, but we're just offering you a long-term deal? You might go, well, fuck that. No. I've got credit in the bank. I want 3 more Harry Kewells. I want a director of football of my choosing. I want a chief scout that I know for the J League. It could be, and if they're not providing that, it's not just about the contract, Phil. Go, there's a long-term deal. Well, tease me into signing it then.
It's so far. I mean, from what we've seen, looking in, is he's got everything that he seems to have asked for so far. There hasn't been many moments where we've been publicly linked with a player and it's not happened, unlike under Brendan with the John McGinn saga, which was the beginning of the end really after that one. And then there was the fullback Piccini, I think he was Sporting Lisbon, ended up signing for Valencia in the end. That was going to happen, but so far it's like he's got, they've been backing him and there hasn't been many issues with players knocking his back. But when it comes to this, and it goes back to something you said a while ago on Twitter that you got lambasted for, where you just said, keep an eye on this board. We know that they've always got a daft mistake in them from time to time, and everything's hunky-dory right now.
I don't
You
know
know, in
that.
business, you can get away. In business, you can get away with making, you know, lots of little mistakes, but you can't get away with making many big mistakes. And all it's going to take is one, you know, player in terms of to start that chain reaction where we get to the January window and Ange is like, I need this guy, and they don't back him, they don't push the boat out, they don't do it, and that's the type of thing. So they've got to avoid angering the big man. They really do. But I agree with what you're saying. You've got to imagine though, that they have to have asked him. It's got to have been a topic. There's no way he's been the manager for this long now, and they haven't sat down and talked about it. The reasons why it hasn't been signed yet, or it hasn't come, nothing's came of it, we're not privy to. It's all just speculation, but it is a bit bizarre in that sense. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, I think we need to be clever here as well. It's so great that the fans are taking Ange. I'm seeing it in the comments, you know, on his word, everything's like, oh, he's been good to his word so far, and we don't know the deals between him and fucking just stop all that. Forget the emotion that you've got. Just look at it like any business, right? Any business, and go, what's your main asset in the business? How secure is your asset? That simple. Yeah. It's that simple. Just remove the Ange aspect. Take his personality out of it. Take out the fact you're fawning over him. Take out the fact that he's laid back about it. Just think about the profile of asset number one comes into failing business, salvages failing business, turns business around. Asset number one brings then multiple other assets that are worth fortunes. We secure all of those assets, but we don't secure the main one that brought in all those other assets. That is not how business, like, this isn't fucking rocket science, what I'm saying. I do get that there is a lot of love for Ange on a personal level. I like the guy. I think he seems brilliant. I don't give a shit. If it's me and it's my pennies and he's already making me shitloads of money because he is, then I will be going, right, big boy, here's a longer term deal. But I just feel it's so easy to fall in the trap of the emotion, Phil. And I think we're guilty of it because we are that type of club, that type of fan base. We believe in people. We believe in Henrik Larsson's are always going to be, you know, going to happen where the peak years they spend at Celtic because they love Celtic. Right, at the end of the day, it's fanciful to think that everyone's cut for that cloth. It's been proven very recently with Mr. Rogers. And, you know, Ange is not a rat, says Dalhallo. Trust the process. I mean, that's fine. No one's saying he's a rat. No. Listen to what we're saying. You're getting personal, Dalhallo. Ange is not a rat because you're thinking of the person. Always think of it as a business, a cutthroat business, as a prized asset right now. Their main asset is on a 1-year rolling deal. Yet all our other assets, including the likes of Jota, comes on 4-year deals. However, all we should do, apparently, is sit and listen to sound bites. Moe Zylak says, Bhoycie, you can't force Ange to sign deals that tie him down. He won't agree. This is a two-way street. I wouldn't say it's forcing. I think it's called sensible business. I disagree with you. I think when a manager is offered a long-term deal because the project that we're offering and the vision we're giving him matches his aspirations, that's not called forcing. That is the two-way street that you speak of, Mo. Thank you for jumping on the bus and coming in with a comment. Appreciate it.
All right. Good to see a Simpsons character in the comments, Mo Sizlak. Classic. I love the Simpsons. Well, I like the old Simpsons episodes, modern day Simpsons. Mo Sizlak, yeah. It's the wee avatar he's got Mo from the Simpsons as well. I do love the show, but yeah, the modern day versions of the show are horrendous. But 1990 Simpsons, brilliant.
But Phil, I mean, I think it's very important that, you know, we're going to keep this campaign going on the bus. I want Ange signed this season on a long-term deal. Yeah, I don't think there is anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it at all, mate. No, you're just demanding that we tie down the most important asset in the club, but I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Like,
no. This isn't a complaint, by the way. No, this is me on board. This is me literally going, no. I want this to keep going. I want this future secured, Phil. I want this to I want this story to keep unraveling. I think there is more that Ange Postecoglou can do at Celtic than even those who were, fanatical about him from day one when they didn't really know what they were talking about. Even those people must be thinking right now, there's a chance here. There is a chance for the next 3-4 years. And the reason that it came to light is, I agree with you. He's not going to Brighton.
No.
I agree with Mark, he's not going to Brighton. But what he does do is go, we all had squeaky bums when we seen it at first, and you shouldn't have to feel like that. You shouldn't have to feel like that. And that is based on a couple of other factors, Phil. And I think it is the contract status.
I think you're right in that one. It's a team like Brighton shouldn't be a blip on our radar, but that definitely a few fans even entertained it, and it was like, oh God, what if it happens? I say, me personally, I was like, it won't happen at all. But it shouldn't be. Everyone should have that sort of attitude, because, but again, it's probably something to do with, we need to get him on a bigger contract. We really do. And I know people say, well, I mean, Brendan Rodgers signed a longer contract and that, and then he was out for a year and a half or whatever after he signed it. But, at the end of the day, it's just making sure that their assets protected, because you've said it many times. We got like £9 million for Brendan in the end, which is still in the top 5 manager fees paid or whatever in world football. And it's like, with Ange Postecoglou, we just want to, we don't want to be poached away for right under our noses. We want to try and protect assets. That's all we've got to do. And by the way, just to answer as well, Michael McDonald's asked a few times what top I'm wearing. It's a Real Betis top from the 1960s or something like that. But the stripes are going the wrong way. They should be going that way. Obviously, if it was going to be Celtic, it's a Real Betis. There you go.
That's cool, isn't it? Don't worry, let those who are financially invested and employed to make these decisions make the decisions. Well, Brown, let's be honest, mate. That would then mean when you come in and you talk about double pivots and all that we should just say, let coaches who are paid to coach football make these decisions. Don't you give me any tactical insight anymore, because you are not paid to do that. I mean, you can't. This is a podcast, mate, where we talk about all aspects of Celtic. So, no, I will not let them just do that on their own time. This is our time to discuss all things Celtic, and that is what we will do, mate. So, I'm sorry, I don't subscribe to that argument. I'm not going to sit and let anyone just get on with their job. It's our job, if you want to call it that. It's our hobby on this podcast to call Celtic to account on anything we want, to celebrate Celtic's success, to celebrate Celtic's past, like some nostalgia. And if we think there's off-field stuff that we go, let's have a wee nosy at that, we are going to talk about that, mate. We are going to talk about that. That is what we do. Phil McGill is 163 live on the Sunday Blether this afternoon. I thank you to each and every one of you.
I hope they do all the subliminal messaging up the top. I hope they follow the instructions there and do it.
Well, we are jumping up followers. The race to 3,000 is on. We've jumped up about another 10 followers this afternoon. We're at 2,792 now. I've got the live count in front of me. I thank you to each and every single one of you. What I would say is, keep your eyes peeled. I know a lot of people are pissed off with the content they're seeing in the MSM right now, whether it be morbid music on the radio, whether it be continual, references to the Queen, etc., on every single channel, let alone news channel, directing you where to watch, more royal correspondence telling you about what's going on. We're going to try and keep it light-hearted. The plan this afternoon is to do, from around 6 o'clock, is to do a real fake live PMP post-match piss show, as if it were in the modern day of Celtic 6 Rangers 2. So I think that'll be pretty fun. We'll do that.
I'm intrigued to see that one. Like the way you described it there, that'll be quite funny.
We'll do it in character, as if we just came out. But then we'll obviously midway through it go, right, drop the act. Let's look retrospectively at how big a day that was, etc. But I think for the first half, we'll do it like me and Terry will do it as if we've just watched the game and Celtic have just recorded that result. And I think that'll be pretty cool and good content. So hopefully we're back around 6:30 tonight, because I appreciate the fact that we'll at least keep people's spirits up, Phil, if no one else can.
Yes, indeed, man, indeed. So, I just say what Russell said, just echo it, just switch yourself off from it, really. I say we're always going to be here every day. We've got later on, say Russell will be on doing PMP, and then tomorrow night, Monday Club, Wednesday, because Tuesday's a night off. Wednesday, PMP for Shakhtar. Thursday. So the bus just keeps on rolling, mate. You'll say you'll always get us here with our unfiltered, unscripted, and unapologetic views. No doubt about it, mate. That's what we're all about on the bus, man. We just keep on rolling along, giving you all the Celtic content that you want. So, yeah, man. So I say anyone that's watching, just make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all that other good stuff, because it helps out the channel massively. Keeps that algorithm up as well.
There we go, Phil. You have just nailed it, mate. We just went up another subscriber as well on the old live count. So a big thank you to whoever that was.
There you go.
I know that. See, it does pay to say it, apparently, you know. 6:30, we will be back, and it will be PMP, and it's going to be post-match pitch like you've never seen it before. We are going to take you back to the year 2000. It is going to be on the back of a 6-2 win. We are going to be reflecting on it as if the Bhoycie Bus was a live podcast back in those days. I think that Marc O'Neill might have something about him. And he also had a certain striker who had a lot to say. He is.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.